question is regarding the organ regeneration. You answered last week. I was not specific. Not the ones I already have, but referring to the ones I lost. Fallopian tube, an ovary. Will it come back? Now, this actually starts to get us into a bit of what we're going to be talking deeply about in the next upcoming weeks, which is about rebuilding organs or planets. Okay? And to just give you a quick prelude into that, what we found is that there's two different kind of diets. And generally, nobody is doing either one of these diets the right way. We have in this corner the vegetarian, who may be, in many instances, eating processed vegetables, overloading on certain vegetables like kale and oxalate-producing elements, and actually even toxifying their body more, because the purpose of becoming a vegetarian is like a fast, it's like a cleanse, where you're going to break down all the calcification, the deposits, and all the fatty acids and the irregulations and all that. You're going to give the body a break from them, which everybody needs. And so, obviously, when you look at your standard vegetarian, they're like a junk food vegetarian. They don't eat meat, but they eat vegetarian pizzas and all this kind of stuff, or they're extreme, where they're juicing thousands and thousands of vegetables and drinking all of that, and not in awareness that there's a threshold to this. You can't actually stay in a cleanse forever, okay? And then in this corner, we have meat eaters. You know, this is the guy that comes in, you know, he's like insisting that all of this meat is the way to go. And the truthful part of this is that they're generally only eating the choice cuts, meaning that they're eating the steak, they're eating the filet mignon, and they're eating the breast, and they're eating all this. But actually, what has been proved now factually, which again we'll get into a little bit more in the next few weeks, is that it's actually the organs of the meat, what they call nose to tail, that if one wanted to rebuild different parts of their body, that's what they would be eating, not necessarily the choice cuts. So we find that the meat eaters are eating the wrong diet and the vegetarians are eating the wrong diet. Is there anything new here in this matrix that we're now discovering how to bring balance to? So that's where, again, that's the personalization of it, because we actually experience this in our daily lives, and we also see this going on in the community. So truthfully, if you're rebuilding organs, you build organs with organs. Now, this modern setting has got everything processed, meaning that for you to even come in contact with blood, this is even if a partner is bleeding. Let's say, for instance, one of your partners severs his arm. You're going to be able to call the police, call the ambulance. You're not going to be there like, yo, let's get some bandages on this wound, let's press this thing down, let's reattach the artery, look, I'm going to clip off this. You're not going to be doing any of that, because you're coming from a processed reality where everything that you want, you call. Like you just call and order a pizza. You go in the store, you buy a box. Right? And this is what's kind of happened to the reality, and why so many people are confused, especially about these two diets. Because we're no longer actually in a stage where an eyeball is what we're arguing over. But if you go to the tribal setting, as I mentioned yesterday, anything that there's two of, everybody's arguing. It's like, yeah, I got the eye. No, I got the esophagus. I got the spleen. Because organs heal organs because they're made from the same thing. And that's where the building blocks and nutrients actually come from to build up. Vegetarian is very important because that's where the things come from that are solvents. Plants are absorbing the soul of the sun, and they're also cleansers. Even actual cleansers in the kitchen are made from plants, and that's what they're going to do to the body, right? So then what happens, though, is that if this starts to come in balance with peer groups, videos off of Netflix like Food Incorporated, and all this stuff is mixed into it, then everybody's just confused and weak from one side or another, and then they're not balanced because they're all warring against each other, and this happens inside the consciousness because we're not completing the circle of life. And this is what we're going to be talking about as we go on. But without elaborating on this proficiently, what I just wanted to explain is that in this tribal setting, when you're raised on a farm and you're actually raised in a tribe, somebody's bleeding, some organ needs to be eaten to regenerate a certain, all that is normal. But when you're living in a processed, propped up reality, like I said, where everything comes in a box, you haven't been exposed to any blood, you haven't been exposed to any eyeballs, any of the back room. I also mentioned before that, see, in the back room, this is like where humans get created at. There's eyeballs laying on the counter, tongues, brain parts, all this kind of stuff. And for you, that's like a horror movie, right? But their ancestors, that's what they had to deal with. They weren't dealing with chips where you drop them lightly inside and you solder them together, and everything's clean. You suck out the solder, and you rinse it off in a bath of distilled water, and you're coming from this sterile ass fake processed reality, and that just is not how things are. So when you try to incorporate that falsehood into a full total awareness, a 360 approach at regeneration, something's not going to add up. Okay, so I'm only giving you a prelude. Some shit wasn't adding up. Some people have problems with their guts, problems with their bowel movements, problems with everything going on, and then while they're all like, namaste, I feel so well, truthfully, because a lot of these people are at the end of the lying now, because you can lie to yourself. Right? You can lie to yourself. You can tell yourself this is exactly what's going on. But this also becomes akin to very abusive programming in relationships, where you should be gone from doing that, but somehow you're still there. And so we're going to address this, because this is the nemesis, what I call the nemesis of life. We keep doing the same thing over and over again. One moment, I was like, this was years ago, like let's say 15 years ago, if you had come to me, man, I can hit you with a Jesus thing, like Kanye right now, and you would be totally into it. But after a few years, and just getting into the obvious, not necessarily but the obvious, reading the book, looking into the lucid world, seeing how some of the animals were acting in some of the beings that were there that were associated with the pantheon, it was obvious that there was racism even going on, that the beings weren't as pure as most people thought they were, and that there was all sorts of weird things happening. So then that was a big sledgehammer for me. Bam! Because I, in wanting to be, live, and always remain as truth, needed to walk away. Now, do you know how many people that are still stuck there? Because they're stuck by their peer group. They're stuck in so many different ways. They're brainwashed. They're programmed. All that's going on. And then it becomes a negative aspect of a cult. I want to put negative in front of that, because I think a cult in culture all is the same stuff. But the negative aspects, when you start getting damaged and hurt, and now you're still there. So then you got to move on. So for me, the gift that I have, some people ask me about my powers, the greatest power I have is the ability to change when I realize change needs to happen. So then I moved on. But that doesn't mean sometimes you don't swing right over to the other pole. The other polarization. Because you generally need to hit both of the poles. Both of those poles. You need to hit them before you can calibrate what's in between. It's like the body is an instrument. It must experience both poles in order for it to determine what's in between. And what you have people doing is experiencing one pole and then insisting that that's the only thing that ever should be done. And then they're completely acting from a space of imbalance. And imbalance creates disease. You're not comfortable. You don't feel fulfilled. You don't feel excited. You're most of the time bored. So this is where a lot of that comes from. But we'll address that deeper later. So again, regeneration comes from the components that regenerate. And then if you want to cleanse and tear down something that, like, some people can eat and consume so much, quote unquote, they become slobs. They've built something, but it's more like a big Slimer. You remember Slimer from the Ghostbusters? So of course they're gonna need to come in there with light to cut solvents to, just like you're trying to wipe grease off of a counter. You're gonna need to come in and you're gonna do that, and you're gonna have to probably even do that for years before you can clean up that slop and slime and mess that you created. But once it's clean though, if you keep doing that, you're just gonna now start breaking down your bones, and you're gonna start cleaning things that are already clean, but you're just gonna wipe them away. And so this is what we're going to be bringing awareness to in the next few weeks, about how to actually maintain the balanced diet for the process or adventure that you're on. And I see this at times like the RPG game, role-playing game, where you come in and you have these three characters to choose from. There's the big Viking-like dude with the big axe, right? And he's big body, the big beard, and because that's what his role is in the role-playing game. And then you had this little skinny-ass elf with the hell of precision, though. He'll hit you with the arrow and a little pouch that he got, and he's just killing them from far off. And then you have the wizard, right? And each of these have a specific diet, but what you'll always find in the game is you need to use each one of these based on the level. You see what I mean? So if you're going to a different level in life, you need to be able to choose the proper character and the proper.
Testing, testing. Okay. I am unsure if that volume is loud enough. I mean, I go into the red when I start to speak, but hold on. Testing, testing, testing. Stay out the red. Okay, so I'm paralleling 7 Bomars, rethinking vegetarianism, and the question was, and hopefully you were able to hear it. If not, feel free to go directly to his website and listen to this. He's talking about rethinking vegetarianism because we end up swinging far left or far right when we are on our goal or mission to, excuse me, and again, I'm thankful that I'm brave enough, I'm immune to internal scrutiny enough that I can allow my videos to be made through my sniffles, my cough, my tickle. Because again, we have this overwhelming fear that's surrounding us, trying to bully us into dormancy and sickness and things of that nature. And so I speak life, I speak liberty, I speak wellness and wholeness, completeness, full cups, overflowing bounty, the cornucopia, the energy that never expires, never runs dry. I speak that for you, the individual, the collective, the you, the me, the I, the she, the he, the it, the they. Okay, to the universe, to the world, to the planets, and to the plan. And so that being said, we want balance. There will be people that are carnivores. There will be omnivores. Omni means all encompassing. So for those who do not wish to restrict any one particular thing out of their diet, they have a more, dare I say again, an all encompassing approach. Right now, that does not work for particular people, for their lifestyle, for their belief systems. I'm here to honor all the variants of the spectrum. My history is a was 20-year plus as a Crohn's disease patient. Not just UC, which stands for, in this case, ulcerative colitis, but it was my large intestines, small intestines, part of my duodenum, my transverse colon was strictured down. And again, so there was a procedure called a total abdominal colectomy. To me, this was on a spiritual level, me denying my wisdom, me denying, especially even in my youth and after my mother transitioned, me denying the power that I had as an empath, as a healer, because again, it went against everything in my being for my mother to have passed away of cancer. And I didn't see cancer as a death sentence. I saw cancer, or I would see cancer later on, as a zodiac sign. So I knew enough about what my mother was teaching, preaching, and living. And I say preaching, but basically to us, we were the church. Um, that I, again, had enough information to hold on. So that being said, to give someone accurate information without knowing blood type, without knowing history or their story, their personal story, what's important to them, to me, it's just going, again, it's going to be collective information. We can definitely use it, but it's not personalized, it's not customized. So I am offering my service to customize people's dietary plans, their path to wholeness, by using this information that they want to give me, need to give me, wish to give me, again, based on their path. If you want to live in the South for the next 10 years, I'm going to give you information differently than if you tell me you're going to want to live in Alaska or the North or the East or the West. So that's just one example. Again, what is the higher power that you are seeking? What are you seeking this power for? Is it to find out what your purpose is in life? Do you have any idea what your gifts and talents are? Again, this can be a very extensive but intuitive conversation. At some point, I would love to get 20 questions on a PDF, and I very well might. But I know that it comes to an intuitive flow chart, because again, that's how the intestines work. That's how we digest things. So he's Seven Bomar right here is talking about, if you go too heavy on the greens is a kind of detoxifier. But what happens when it's time to tone, time to tonify? We got to catch the leak, catch the problem, the leaky gut. We have to find out what was the offending thing that allowed the gut to leak, and then seal it and then heal it, so we don't have to experience intuitive inflammation, intuitive dis-ease. My goal is to have easy digestion, ease of digestion. So that would be dough backwards. So that's a good place to start. Do, re, mi. So dough is ease of digestion backwards. Whether you're eating a brontosaurus burger or whether you're digesting mother's milk, the enzymes that your body needs, same way that African Americans tend to be, quote, lactose, which is a sugar, a milk sugar, a sugar found in milk. They are sensitive to it because they don't have the enzymes, which is a lactase, which is, again, the critters that breaks down the milk sugar. So it's no different. He's talking about, again, from the nose to the tutor, our ancestors dealt with the entire thing, back to Native American. Whether you think that's a particular skin color or hair length or not, what we're talking about is people that were not, they were not excused from the process of life, death, birth, rebirth, and the cycle of life. So when we are disconnected from pig skin, but we eat the pig, or we're disconnected from pig blood, but we eat the bacon, then what we're doing is we're not able to value the entire process. So I believe there is a space and a time to be able to do that. I believe that we may want to invite ourselves to do that. If we're going to continue to eat meat, you may want to go to a farm and see the process and ask yourself, is this what I want to continue to do? And for me, I believe yes. This is not to run you away from meat. I believe, like the prodigal son, when he came to himself, say, I can't do this. I got to go back home. I got to go back to mama's cooking, daddy's cooking, the servants cooking, anything but this. But you have to decide that, because some of us do have the job of cleaning up, not just the physical planet, but the mental planet, the emotional planet. There were times where we didn't have a choice, whether we ate pig or pig feet or pig eye or steak or fish. There was a time where we didn't have that choice. We have that choice now. There was a time where we could not be connected to the end process. That's no longer the case. We can connect ourselves to the process of that which we consume, so that we truly can say grace for a reason. And that grace is the knowledge of our eyes being opened, that there is consciousness in the blood. And so whether we eat things that have the blood in it, or drained out or cooked or whatever, it's still a blood. It was an animal. It was a blood coursing through the veins of the animal. So if we still eat blood after that, then we do so with grace, with understanding, with inner standing, with humility, that God honors all of what we do if we honor it. Okay, so that's what I have to say about, and again, he mentioned, organs beget organs. That's why we ate the neck bone. And that's why I smiled when he said that, because many practitioners right now are talking about, and we all practitioners, we're practicing life, we're practicing breathing. Hopefully we're practicing deep breathing and mindfulness and consciousness and opening up our presence, which is the box of ourselves. And we are that black box. And we still have our vessel, and it's still intact. Most of us have all of our arms and our limbs, and so we can build and rebuild from the inside out. And the better that we can build flesh upon flesh, instead of metal, or when we do use metals, we use them again with knowledge and with understanding. We know our practitioners, our fellow practitioners. We know our fellowship with the medical world or the healing world, and so we're there. We're conscious of the process that's happening. We're not just put into a deep sleep and then we wake up, oops, what happened? I don't know, they took my stuff. No, we know what's happening when we go in. We are familiar with what the procedure will hold, and then we have someone to help walk us through the convalescent healing process. So that's my spiel, if you will, of tea on how to approach your own journey. Again, this is coming from a person that before I woke up to my own spirituality, my stomach was in knots. Because again, I was fighting my intuition, and I was in the school of hard knocks. I was in the school of throw the pillowcase over her head and tell her it's dark outside. Sorry. This is just my creative way of that I've learned how to process, so that I can again give people so much more hope, so that we don't go into these diagnoses with doom and gloom. That's the thing. This secret, this mood, the doom, is what a lot of people are just terrified of, because again, these are words. These are words, and we're told that the moon holds secrets and things of that nature, and moon is an acronym for mono. So mono just means one. One nucleus, one Lord, one faith, one baptism. What is that baptism? Through the blood. What is that water baptism? The amniotic sac, the amniotic fluid. That's your first bathtub on this side of the ethereal plane, the natural physical side. Okay. All right. So I love you all, and I'll upload this. But I just wanted to do a parallel because this was pretty recent for him. It's only got 984 views. Please go over there and check him out and make that 985. Hopefully by the time I revisit, it'll be past 1,000. This is the information that'll save your life, and then we don't have to have these, deeper, something so toxic that it has to be physically removed. So there's a way to be practical. There's a way to bring us back to common knowledge, common sense. Again, liver for liver, spleen for spleen. And we don't need a lot. That's the beauty of it. If something can be eaten, it's about the information that's in that. So it's kind of like stem cells. The alphabet is kind of like stem cells, and that you can rearrange them and basically again create a new thing. From earth to heart is a new thing. Same letters, same ingredients, but earth to heart. From red to be red to bread. Okay, and bread is B-R-E-A-D, or to be bread as in B-R-E-D. Okay, so that's why words are so important, because we are the bread of life. And so when we are broken, however we do that, gingerly, tenderly broken, then those who have the emotional, spiritual, and otherwise an eye for identifying what's going on in these universes, our own cells, then we can go beyond a laboratory of a culture that is not our culture. Okay. And so he mentioned the word cult being a culture. The other two words, again, is a kind of play, but it's very in keeping with our times. Cult, U-R-E. And that E is kind of like eternal. That E is ethereal. So you are ethereal culture. Okay? An everlasting culture of beings in your body, in your soul, in your makeup. You call them spirit guides. You say your stomach is upset. We use all of these words and personalities. Rarely do we say I have a happy tummy. My stomach, the belly jelly. I'm full. I'm excited. I need nothing else. I want no more. And that is not achieved only through physical food. That's achieved by listening to people like Seven Bomar, listening to people that have knowledge that bypasses again, physical food into mental, spiritual, and emotional food. Things that are going to validate the hunger that goes beyond binging or craving things that won't fulfill the soul. All right. Wholeness, vibrations that are balanced to your particular frequency and path. I honor you. I honor your vessel for coming, and I know that I will be able to share more information, bring peace, bring love, bring joy, bring excitement, bring correction. Yeah. Course correction can happen with the right information. All right. Take care, and signing off for now. Bye.